Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the South Endzone. I am Chad. You see Tyler over there just grinning ear to ear because, hey, look, the Bulldogs took care of business yet again, this time against one of the best teams in the SEC, the Ole Miss Rebels. I didn't think, if you asked me in August if I would be saying that sentence, I would not be saying that. I would not have put money on me calling the Ole Miss Rebels one of the best teams in the SEC. But hey, look, they were right there. They beat LSU. They played a close game against Alabama, and they had you guys neck and neck there for a little bit, 14-14, and then the Dogs just pulled away. How you feeling, man?
You guys let this team put up 50, Chad?
Oh, come on now. We let everybody put up 50. What are you talking about? Like we just gave up 35 to Florida.
Listen, you talk about what we did against Auburn. Okay, I get it. Yes, we might not play.
We have two things that we can be like hopeful about right now. Okay, well, three things. One, like getting to a good bowl game and finishing the season with 10 wins still. Like another 10-win season again would be great. That's one. Mm-hmm. That's that primary like functional goal, right? The other one is Jayden Daniels winning the Heisman Trophy.
Damn right.
Which he should. And number three, and possibly the most important for the future of the program, is what defensive coordinator is going to be available that we can pluck? Is it Dave Aranda coming back to LSU after he gets fired from Baylor? Are we going to be able to go after one of these guys from either A&M or Mississippi State or, whoever else comes available? There's some interesting options out there. So, I mean, Michigan just fired their linebackers coach. Maybe that's what our defense needs. We need to steal some people's signals.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But no, let's talk about that Ole Miss beatdown. You guys just took them to the woodshed after they played around with y'all for a quarter.
Mm-hmm. I will say this: we talked about it before. I was like, is our offense capable if our defense doesn't hold up for whatever sort of reason? Are we going to be able to go shot for shot with Ole Miss's offense? And we did in that first quarter. It was 14-14. So we traded back and forth. There was a call on I think they went for it on like a 4th and 5 or 3rd and long or whatever. And like our DB made a perfect play on the ball. Literally put the hand on the guy, looked at the ball, batted the ball down, and they threw a flag. So that kept that drive going for a touchdown. There was, we did stop them, a couple times early on, and it was nice, and I was happy, but it was definitely close. I was like, oh, are we going to be able to do this? Judkins was starting to get churning a little bit. Dart was not looking too bad, and then we just unloaded it on him too. Mike Bobo, us Georgia fans have all talked our shit. Maybe he was just trying to hold on to that playbook until he absolutely could, but we were gashing them down the field. We were taking deep crossers over the middle. Ladd McConkey was looking unreal, and Carson Beck, it was the first time in this, at least that I have noticed anyway, where it pans to him and he's like talking to receivers, like, look at me. Like if the receiver doesn't make the play or the play doesn't connect, he's like, come on, we gotta take care of business. Like he's actually taking over the game as opposed to looking a little timid. Rob Bowers announced at game time he was going to be back. Honestly, didn't even need to be back because we had, the likes of Ladd McConkey, Dominic Lovett, Robert Thomas, all those boys getting it done. Ladd with 81, Dominic with 77, but Brock Bowers still connected for 3 catches and a touchdown.
You love to see it. You love to see it. He was like an emergency. Sometimes they have like an emergency scratch, like a late scratch or whatever. They were just like, oh yeah, by the way, Brock Bowers was playing.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, by the way, like literally, it's like, you ever watch WWE where all of a sudden, like,
somebody just comes in and gets tagged in out of nowhere.
It's like Brock Bowers off the top rope. What's happening?
Yeah, right, with a chair and a table.
That's it felt good. Like the thing I was happiest the most about was the offense. The offense, this offense looked good. It's an SEC defense. I know Ole Miss doesn't believe in defense, but it's an SEC defense. And we took care of business. I was very happy. We looked good. Our defense, held them to only 17. That's an offense that can put up 50 on teams that are other, maybe at LSU or things of that nature.
Oh God,
Yeah.
seriously? Okay, yeah. Shots fired
Um,
already. All right, get him in while you can. Okay.
but overall, I was
Taking
incredibly happy.
notes.
But
Yeah.
I need people need to like listen. People, one of the Ole Miss receivers made this catch towards the end of the game. When they were down by a million, right? This sick
Yeah.
one-handed catch, and like, oh, that's Odell. It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah,
No, it's
it's they gotta
not.
stop with the
No,
if you
it's
make a
not.
one-handed catch.
Yeah,
And
like
it wasn't
nothing.
even a one-handed catch though, honestly. Like I
Like
saw
he
the
like
play.
caught it behind
He
him.
he pulled he got the ball, but then he pulled it in and caught it
Yeah,
with two hands. Like
yeah.
Odell, like he first of all, he caught the ball this way. Like
It's
he's
a
reaching out
touchdown while being
and
held.
it was in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown with a DB on him, and he
Yeah,
just like reaches back and like backhands
yeah,
the ball, and obviously like just one hands it, like
yeah.
nothing else, just the hand, and then he didn't bring it into his body or anything. It was just like click, like
Yeah, and
Spider Man.
people made jokes about that catch, and there was comments. They're like, "Oh, Chris Paul makes a three to cut the lead to 42. Woo!"
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know what I
right,
mean?
right,
Like,
right.
who
Yeah,
cares? And then
it's fair.
you see on social media, it's like when I don't know. It's like I guess it's you talk about being the number one team.
Hmm.
Instead of saying, "Oh, Georgia looks good," it's like, "Oh, actually, Ole Miss is overrated. They aren't actually
Hmm.
that good." Blah 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 blah. I was like, "Are they?" They play with Alabama had a tough time putting up
Yeah,
points against them. So I
yeah,
don't
and I
know.
mean, and look, in all fairness, that was a week off of the South Alabama game
Yep.
where or South Florida game where
Yeah.
Alabama had tried out the other two quarterbacks, and Jalen Milroe was in his first game back after he had gotten benched
Mhm.
um, in that Ole Miss game. So like the Ole Miss game, like Milroe wasn't terribly impressive, but he's continued to improve week after week since then. So I in a way, I sort of look at that like I don't know, like how good really was Ole Miss, and how good is that defense really?
Mhm.
But I mean, like you said, it still is an SEC defense, and like let's look at this. Let's just kind of go through what some of the scores Ole Miss has been giving up. They gave up 20 to Arkansas. They gave up 3 touchdowns to Auburn. They gave up 35 to Texas A&M. So you can score on this defense. Obviously, they
Yeah.
gave up 49 to us. You can score on this defense, but it's not like it's just some punch and Judy, and they're not
Yeah.
even giving an effort. There are some defenses like that you just go through like Swiss cheese. Um, LSU's defense for one. Unfortunately, although Florida only hung 35 on us, so there's that.
Yeah. Woo.
Oh goodness
Our
gracious!
run game was also one of the other things I was happy with. Kendall Milton rushing for a buck 25. That's the
But
thing that I think we were missing this season is that like our run game was not super established. Like
mhm,
that's what has made like Georgia like when we had like James Cook and Zamir White and the championship teams, things like and Milton was on those teams too. But it's just like having our dominant run game is what makes a Georgia team a Georgia team. And then now that we have the receivers such as as Bowers, McConkey, Lovett, Thomas, those guys. Like I feel like
yeah,
the that was the most our offense has clicked all season. And obviously, we just put up 50. Other than the Kentucky game, like that was like our offense looked phenomenal, and I was
yeah.
happy.
Well,
Except
and
Carson throwing a pick, but other than that,
yeah.
like
Well, and I was going to say, so the thing that to me that was more impressive was, and I know this is kind of to be expected, but I mean, you guys did give up 3 touchdowns, or well, you gave up 20 points to Auburn.
yeah,
There have been some little,
we didn't look
and
good against
Spencer Rattler
Auburn.
had you guys in a blender for a
Yeah, we did
half.
not look good against either one of them.
Yeah. So they're seeing Georgia's defense sort of make those improvements and continue to be that shutdown defense where you give up the 2 touchdowns early to Ole Miss, and then it's just they only get a field goal the rest of the
Yeah,
game.
yeah. In the whole
Um,
second half, they
and
got three
and
points.
like Ole Miss's offense, like this is the thing, like they gave up or they scored 37 against Tulane, 48 against Georgia Tech. They only got 10 against Alabama. That was in Tuscaloosa,
That was an
and
ugly game on both sides.
I think that was a game. Yeah, that was an ugly game. They scored 55 on us. They scored 27 on Arkansas, 28 on Auburn, 33 on
Yeah,
Vanderbilt,
we only gave
38
them.
on Texas A&M. So it's not like
We doubled them
this
up in
is
both the first quarters too. Like they only put up seven in each, in
yeah.
each, in each
So
quarter. Like they put up seven in the first and seven in the second, and we put up 14 in each.
unfortunately, it's setting up what is going to be too good of a matchup in the SEC championship game.
I wanted
Where,
not all. I want. I mean, we both wanted LSU, obviously. Like
yeah,
it's
I just there Saban is like Rasputin. You can't
was
kill him.
Alabama playing possum the first half of the season? Were they trying to get people to like doubt them? Like what?
No,
Is,
I really think this was because Saban
is it
talked
like
about it in his
growing
post game
pains from the
press
season or
conference
something?
this week that he didn't have real high expectations for this team, and he was trying to kind of manage those expectations, and how he's been really enjoying coaching this team because they're doing things that he kind of believes that they could do, but he was tempering his enthusiasm
Yeah, just
because they
let us see
didn't
what
have all
happens.
that elite talent that they normally
Yeah.
have.
Hmm.
I will say this: it is, as well as Jalen Monroe is playing, like he still has. There's some moments where, like against LSU, even where he's just missing open receivers, like just
Hmm.
missing them completely. And the sad part about it is that like we couldn't capitalize on that stuff. I think that against a defense like Georgia's, I
We
he's
just
going
can't
to
let him
really
use
be
his
put to the
feet.
test. He's
That's the
going to
only
have,
thing.
yeah, he's going to have to run the ball, and and that's the thing. That's what killed him or killed LSU with him is that he shredded us running the
We let
ball.
Peyton Thorne run on us. That's what I'm saying. Like that's what makes me a little nervous. Is that like
Yeah,
we let Robbie Ashford and Peyton Thorne run all over us from behind center at Auburn. So that's like my
but
only
in a
fear.
way that also was like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, true.
So like you look at that and you compare that to like Jalen Milroe 4 weeks ago. We're talking again about that Ole Miss game
Yeah,
and being
not being able
benched
to do
against South
anything.
Florida the week before.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I still something tells me that you guys are still the gold standard in this league, and I see it being a Georgia 2 touchdown sort of setup.
Well, people are and a lot of people are, I shouldn't say a lot, but you see it around that like they're putting us on upset already. It's like, oh, Bama. Well, like they're already talking about the scenarios of like
Oh yeah,
if we
who gets
lose,
in? Does
if
Georgia
we
get in?
it's
Yeah,
essentially saying that if we lose the SEC championship, we might not get in.
yeah.
Like it's going to be Alabama, and if there's all these undefeated conference champions laying around, like we're going to be
Hmm.
out. Like that's going to be tough. But I mean, you guys took care of Florida in
Yeah.
Baton Rouge. How did you feel about that?
I mean, yeah, it's always
You were
good to
worried
beat
about
Florida
Mertz
because we hate
Magic and seeing
Florida.
what he
Like
was going to do.
yeah, it's like so. There's a few. So obviously we hate Alabama. We're
Hmm.
like that's our biggest rival. And as much as the Iron Bowl is a big deal to them, I think when it comes down, like when the rubber meets the road, Auburn may
Talent
be
on
the
talent.
longest standing rivalry, but LSU is the game that Alabama like gets up for. There's a
Yeah.
reason why every year since Nick Saban has been at Alabama, the bye week for Alabama is the week before the LSU game.
Hmm.
Every time. So and we do the same thing. It's
Yeah.
like we're both going to have 2 weeks to prepare for that
Yeah.
matchup. And they've gotten our number. Like I don't shy away from it. We've been the nail to their hammer in a lot of that rivalry over the last 20 years. But we've gotten our pound of flesh here and there. 5 or 6 wins in that 20-year span, which is no small feat. It's I think when you look at how LSU's rivalry, because we don't have like an in-state rivalry, like
No, you don't.
I don't know. I guess for you guys it's sort of similar because there's
We
Georgia
do,
Tech,
but
but
it's Georgia Tech, and they
that's not
stink.
really a rival.
It is. I would say like if you take, yeah, we don't have
It's
like
like
a
if we played
true.
Tulane or something,
Yeah, there's no Alabama Auburn when it comes to us and Georgia
Right,
Tech. They just
right. There's
happen to
no
be in the
Texas
state of
Texas
Georgia and have
A&M
a
or
football team.
yeah. It's but there's a lot of this stuff though if you think about it. So like Michigan has Michigan State, but
Hmm.
really their big rivalry is Ohio
Ohio
State.
State. Yeah.
And so in a way, it's like that with us. We're like, there's Alabama, Auburn, but then like I think LSU or our LSU Alabama has risen to that level,
Hmm.
especially over the last 20 years, where like that's like a legit matchup that it's like two NFL teams going head to head. And it's
Yeah.
becoming that way with you guys too now, because now that you have You got a couple of rings.
Yep.
And you've been to the SEC championship more than any other team in the East. And they've been more than any other team in the West. So, there's that rivalry starting to build between Alabama and Georgia as well. The Kirby Smart factor plays into it. So I'm saying all that to say, like, what used to be a really big game for us
LSU,
was Florida,
Mm-hmm.
And it still is. Like, it's still like there's some animosity, some hatred,
Yeah.
but these are the guys who, like, they had like a dead cat skeleton on their sideline one year. It was weird. Like, their
Oh
players had
God.
like a little, it's like there's they they did some stuff where they like stomped on our logo and different things like that. We've had fights, pregame fights
Yeah.
and all this sort of stuff. So it's definitely a big rivalry. And Billy Napier coming from Louisiana, going from Louisiana Lafayette and taking that job at Florida. I'm sure he really wanted to beat us. And to do it in Baton Rouge would have been really good for him. But look, let's just jump right to what is the most important thing from that night. Yes, it was great to get that win, but good God, Jayden Daniels. 372 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 220 yards rushing.
Give him the Heisman,
and
dude.
2 touchdowns.
I'll be on the campaign with you. Jayden Daniels deserves the Heisman by a mile, dude.
No player in the history of the game has ever passed for 350 plus and rushed for 200 plus.
Well, like, I don't understand. When did the Heisman, like, I swear, like, the Heisman.
No, it's always been like this, man. It's always been like this.
Really, the best player on the best team, but it's not.
So viewers,
but like A&M, like Johnny
let me
Manziel,
challenge you.
Lamar
Yeah,
Jackson.
Johnny Manziel, right? But listen, viewers, listen. Y'all remember there have been countless examples of this, but Gino Torretta won the Heisman Trophy when he was the quarterback at Miami. And it was exactly the same as like all this. And I would argue that Gino Torretta was less deserving than either Bo Nix or Michael Penix, because at least those guys are putting up numbers. What Gino Torretta did was he was the quarterback on an elite Miami team that had like crazy talent around him. And look at what his career amounted to after he left Miami. Nothing. This is what the Heisman Trophy has done countless times.
The quarterback on the best team
it's the quarterback on the best team more often than not, unless someone, Charles Woodson. But again, if Charles Woodson or Desmond Howard, like those guys, if they're not doing what they're doing on championship caliber teams,
also true.
They're not getting that publicity.
Like Lamar Jackson and Johnny Manziel are like the outliers. They had to play
and
out of their
RG3,
minds.
RG3 too.
Yeah, had to play
and
out of their
Tebow
minds.
the year that he won it when Florida wasn't that good.
Yeah. So you have to literally play. You have to be pretty much like the more you're on ESPN. You have to literally be on ESPN all the time if you're not going to be like, which is dumb. It's not the best player on the best team or the quarterback on the best team, which Washington is or Oregon are not the best teams either way.
Right.
I just think it's dumb. I would give it to Daniels over either one of them any day of the week. I would think that Carson Beck is even up there. He's not above any of those three, but he's up there.
Yeah. Well, he's certainly ahead of J.J. McCarthy, who threw for a whopping 60 yards.
Yeah, I was going to say Carson Beck threw for 305 at least.
All right, and they ran the ball 32 times in a row because that's how much they are campaigning for their quarterback to win the Heisman.
Yeah, right. It's like we want you to win the Heisman, but you can't throw it.
Yeah, right.
It's like but you got
and Jayden Daniels. Look, like with all due respect to Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, who are like just. Oh God, they're insane. They're so good. Daniels is still like, if you watch him play, like he's hitting these deep balls where it's like Brian Thomas is running out there full speed and it's just like boom on his fingertips.
Yeah.
With like 7 yards separation and he's just gone. Like it's not these, because I've seen it before where like when Matt Leinart was at USC and you had who was the other kid a couple of years ago from USC? I went to the Jets. Yeah, Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So like I've seen these guys And even Jameis Winston, when he was at Florida State,
with Kelvin
guys are
Benjamin.
open by 15 yards and
Yeah.
they underthrow the guy by 5 yards, and he has to come back to the ball to get it, but he's still got separation after he catches the ball, and then he takes
Yeah.
it the distance. Like, that's not impressive to me. Like, having tons of time to throw the ball and hitting wide open receivers down the field with no one around them and underthrowing them because you just want to make sure you don't overthrow them. No, Jayden Daniels is like hitting these dudes in traffic, throwing these balls up and throwing it where they're the only one that can catch it. His touch in the red zone, his touch on the deep ball, his precision in the intermediate stuff. And then look, man, as good as Caleb Williams is as a dual threat guy, his dual threat stuff really is more like that NFL Cam Newton style of, I'm not really going to run the ball, but maybe like to get a first down here or there, kind of like what Bo Nix does too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a first down here or there in the when it's 3rd and 8 and they blitz and the blitz gets by me and I'm gonna run underneath and then I'm gonna slide for the first down. No, Jayden Daniels is busting off 85 yarders.
Yeah.
Like, he ran for 220 yards.
That's so
Yeah,
crazy.
he's just lighting it up. He's like, it's like having in one guy having like a stud running back and a stud quarterback, and I just it's insane. I've never seen anything like it, and if it weren't for Joe Burrow doing what he did in 2019, putting up the passing numbers that he did, where he threw for 60 touchdowns when it was all said and done, and had 5,000 yards or whatever it was, some insane, that sort of stuff. We're still looking at a guy in Jayden Daniels who he could approach 4,000 yards passing before the bowl in the regular season.
Yeah,
And
that's so
he
crazy.
could approach 40 touchdown passes, and he's probably going to have over 10 rushing touchdowns and over 1,000 yards rushing.
He'll probably be in New York, but I feel like they're still not going to give it to him. Like, I feel like he's going to end up. I feel like he's going to end up in New York. Like, but I think it's stupid, and I think obviously he's probably going to go to the league. But if in some way or form he would have stayed at LSU next year, I think
No, he can't. No, he's done. Yeah, he's done.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, dude, bro. If he had a chance to come back, oh my gosh, we'd be having a different conversation right now. I would have been spending half of this time that I'm talking about how I hope he comes back. But no, he's done.
For some reason, I thought another year.
Yeah, he's going to go in the first round. It's just a matter. Well, I say that
he's going to be on discount for whoever gets him because he's not going to go high enough.
No later than mid-second round. And if he gets into the second round,
it's going to be on discount.
Whoever happens to scoop him up in the second round they're gonna have hit a gold mine, because I think there's some comparisons to like that, and I say this because of his size, that Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray kind of hybrid. What?
Is he not that big? I can never tell on TV.
He's thin. He's just thin. That's all. He's tall, but he's just thin. But he's super fast. Oh my God, he's so fast.
He's fast, dude. You can't be slow and run for 200 plus yards.
Right.
So
let me see what his he's 6'4", but he's only 210.
Oh wow.
So like he's slender.
I mean, I give him credit for taking those hits then, because I think
that's the thing
if I'm blocking for him, I wasn't getting nervous that he's gonna try to take something and break.
But here's the thing that's crazy though. Like, there was a play against Missouri where. So there were two plays. One where like he got into the end zone and he got blasted and they didn't call the late hit. And I don't remember what, I think we maybe had a holding penalty or something like that, but it was a late hit. Anyway, he was hurt. And he just like sucked it up and kept going. Then he's like playing. There's like blood dripping down from like, I don't know if it's his elbow or his finger or what, but blood is like pouring off of his finger. And he's just out there like, nah, I'm slinging it anyway. I don't care. And that's the kind of stuff you want to see. Like you want to see a guy. You said like if I'm blocking for him, I'd be nervous. I think the guys who are blocking for him get hyped, because of how tough he is and how willing he is to go mix it up with the dudes that are trying to take his head off.
Yeah.
I think he would have tried. I mean, he did try to come back out.
He
God
did.
bless
I don't
him
know if he knew
against
where he
Alabama.
was for
Yeah,
like.
right.
I
And
mean,
people were trying to say,
I was waiting for Nussmeier to sling it. I really was in
yeah.
that Alabama game. I was like, oh shit,
No,
here we
but
go.
the thing is though, like that the problem. So what you can do is what LSU did back in 2011. They went from Jarrett Lee, who was like more like Nussmeier, that like stand in the pocket, look downfield, try to hit those shots. Went from that to Jordan Jefferson, and he ran the ball all over Alabama, and they didn't really have an answer for him. I mean, they still stopped us in the red zone, and we ended up having to settle for field goals a lot. But he gave them fits. Well, if you go the opposite direction from Jayden Daniels to a guy who is more statuesque in the pocket, that really actually helps, and especially where it was in the game.
I mean, it got us for a little bit.
Where we were down by 2 touchdowns and they just could pin their ears back.
Yeah.
I think but I think that was more of you guys had some vulnerabilities in your secondary.
Oh yeah,
and so he was just exploiting and those receivers were exploiting the vulnerabilities in your secondary, whereas Alabama with Kool-Aid McKinstry and I can't remember the other kid's name, but that's why Daniels was so valuable. Like in addition to his running ability, he was pinpoint accurate getting the ball to the receivers. It's just a shame that we didn't get to see, because Dallas Turner is a dirty player. We didn't get to see what that last 13 minutes would have been like with Daniels in the game, because I'm not saying we would have won, but I don't know.
But
Give me Jayden Daniels with a chance to give me Jayden Daniels with a chance to try to climb back into that game and make it close late. So let's go into what's coming up, because you guys have one of the few actual games that's worth watching this weekend.
Real quick, any thoughts on last weekend's games before we move on to this weekend? Did you have any last weekend's matchups before we move on?
Well, I don't know. Give me a matchup, and I'll tell you
what. We had Michigan, Penn State, the gross game.
Penn State is very overrated. James Franklin is like I said in our little group chat, he's the Les Miles of the Big Ten. It's like if they, how Michigan kept trying to hire Les Miles away from LSU. It's like if that happened, but he went to Penn State instead.
Terrible.
It's the inability to take advantage of an opportunity when it's presented to you. And like they had an opportunity. It's like 4th and 1, and he's like, "Nah, we're gonna punt." And it's like,
dude,
bro, do you want to beat Michigan, or do you want
drives me nuts? Oh my God, you're 3rd and 8 or whatever on your half of the field, right? And instead of I don't know if it's play calling or if it's the quarterback. Instead of I don't know, let's throw it to the sticks at least. I'm going to throw it 1 yard underneath and lose a yard.
Right.
Like, what kind of mindset is that? Like late in the game, it's like, oh, we probably need a first down.
You'd be better off just taking a sack or throwing it away.
Like honestly, like instead of throwing it for negative yards. Like,
unless you're throwing a screen pass where you have it set up and you have blockers setting up downfield.
It was the release valve that came underneath instead of throwing it to the sticks.
Yeah, it was very.
That was such a frustrating game to watch, because like Penn State was literally in it to the end, but somehow wasn't. You know what I mean? Like
they were. It was you could feel in the end. Yeah, you could feel that it didn't matter how close they were not going to win that game.
Which is stupid. That's horrible. Horrible.
That's how it felt to be an LSU fan when Les Miles was the coach after 2011, like when
it was like an 8-point game for most of the game.
Yeah, because we had people forget this, but like LSU wins the national championship in 2007, and Les Miles that year was like they were calling him like the riverboat gambler, because he was going for it on 4th down all the time, and he's like we're throwing the ball on 3rd down when we're just trying to line up for a field goal with 7 seconds left against Auburn, and we throw the ball for a touchdown and win the game at the last second. And people were like, "This is crazy. Why are you doing this? Don't do that." Like, and then it goes full circle to where so we do that. Then 2008, we have Jarrett Lee at quarterback. He was a true freshman. He wasn't supposed to be the guy. Andrew Hatch had gotten concussed, and we ended up falling back to Ryan Perilou was off the team. Andrew Hatch got hurt, and then Jarrett Lee, a true freshman who's supposed to be redshirting, just basically has to. And he threw so many. I think he threw like 7 pick sixes that year. Threw one of them to you guys. Who was that? Who's that linebacker that ran it back for a touchdown?
It wasn't Pollock. That was after Pollock, right?
No, it was after way after Pollock. Pollock was on the 03 team that we beat. Anyway,
not Tom.
It was when Matthew Stafford was there. It was Stafford's last or second last year. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Point is, Jarrett Lee was a pick six machine. Well, we barely lost to Alabama that year in 08 at Tiger Stadium. Then 09, we go to Tuscaloosa, and we should have won that game. Patrick Peterson played well, and then Julio Jones, Patrick Peterson, cramped up, so he's off the field, and that's the play where they throw a little flanker screen to Julio Jones, and he takes it the distance, 80 yards for a touchdown. And so we lost that one late. Then 2010, we come back and we beat Alabama in Tiger Stadium. Then we beat them again in Tuscaloosa the next year with Jordan Jefferson at quarterback. And it's looking like, okay, we got this. Let's go. And then the 2012 January national championship happens, and it's like Les Miles went into a shell, and he never really came out of it.
Yeah.
From that point on,
that was
LSU, we would blow leads and almost lose games that we should have won by 30 points. Yeah. And we would be playing. We played so close to the vest and became this super conservative offense. And it was just infuriating, extremely frustrating. And that's what I see with James Franklin. He's just this guy who
he might not ever be the guy there. He's never won a top 10 game ever.
Here's the thing. At some point, you got to shit or get off the pot. You've got to take your swing at the giant.
Yeah.
And live with the consequences.
That's what I mean. It's he has these opportunities to just go take care of business, right?
You're going out there and you're trying to not lose.
Instead of trying to win.
Already lost.
Yeah.
You already lost. If you try to not lose, you're just going to guarantee that you lose, but maybe you keep it respectable.
Yeah, it was an 8-point game the whole game, and they could have been there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And their drives were stalling out, and Alar was I don't know if it's the receivers don't know how to catch, or it was a combination of both.
Yeah, he's very he leaves a lot to be desired.
Around here is better when Penn State's playing good football. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it. Well, but what constitutes good football? Because they're playing good football this year, except that
when they're winning
games.
When they're winning these games,
right? But the two biggest games that they had, they're going to still win 10 games most likely.
The most fun it ever was around here was when Penn State upset Ohio State in Happy Valley. People rushed the field.
Sure.
Washington beat Utah. Oregon beat USC. Those were some great games. Mizzou, what did I tell you, Chad?
Yeah,
Mizzou stomped Tennessee. I mean, we both were all about that.
Look, man, you don't have to tell me twice. North Carolina found a way in double overtime.
UCF 45, Oklahoma State 3.
Yeah. Yo, listen. Oklahoma State is the biggest enigma in this entire college football season.
That's the one who choked to South Alabama, right?
They lose. They got blown out by South Alabama. They didn't choke. They didn't even show up. You got to show up to choke. Good grief, man. They did the same thing, and they did the same thing with Central Florida. What are you doing, man?
The space those uniforms were sweet, by the way. The space uniforms,
right? So they just beat Oklahoma.
Yeah, I know they did.
What the hell?
In Oklahoma.
No, and I called that one too. I was
in Norman. They beat Oklahoma in Norman. And then they do that.
What the hell's going on? So so that one, you guys, we covered your game. Trying to see what else.
Nothing too crazy. I just wanted to talk about those couple games because they were just
Miami and Florida State. Miami and Florida State was still pretty close.
Great rivalry.
Miami had a chance. But they didn't really get it done. But yeah, how do you lose 45-3 to UCF the week after you beat Oklahoma?
Yeah,
and how is Dylan Gabriel this is what was crazy to me. They gave Dylan Gabriel the player of the week honors this week.
for the Big 12.
Co-player of the week with Jayden Daniels. I'm like, no, man, listen. I know he threw he threw for like 6 touchdowns or something and ran for 2, and it's like, yeah, but no, you just lost to a really crappy Oklahoma State team last week. Like, at some point, like, don't you like start them off in the negative before you give them,
Yeah.
And I know Jayden Daniels had a rough week the week before against Alabama, but it's
He
Alabama.
didn't though, but he
had a really good game, but then he got knocked out. Yeah.
Like, did he even have a bad statistical game in that game?
And he had an amazing statistical game.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he didn't even have a bad game.
He had 164 yards rushing.
I'm saying. It's like it was a rough game from like he got hurt, but like overall,
yeah, he got knocked out of the game, but he was good when he was in the game. He was good. Let me see. Let me pull up.
Yeah, that's what I'm
his
saying.
numbers.
It's like Daniels just like played.
He was 15 for 24 for 219, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 11 rushes for 163 yards and a touch.
There you go.
So yeah, not bad at all. Comparing that to Dylan Gabriel the week before. So let's see if there's anything else. I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much those were the big games.
The Michigan Penn State was the one, the big one that we were talking about from that week, and then those Pac-12 games.
Yeah,
that was pretty much it.
Pretty good. And then so, Alabama ran Kentucky out of.
Well, but that's that. So Kentucky.
It's basketball
kind of does that. They kind of do that. They're doing the same thing, and that's what
Kansas lost too.
Yeah, well,
basketball season.
Yeah, Kentucky did the same thing against you guys, where they'll look really good against somebody, and then they just basically like they're the Oklahoma State of the SEC this year, except they haven't lost to anybody bad.
Yeah, they just haven't beat anybody good.
Oklahoma, yeah. So actually, what they are bizarro Oklahoma State for the SEC. They get blown out by the good teams, and then they show up and look like they are a contender when they play the bad teams. So yeah, shout out to Will Levis's replacement, Mr. Devin Leary. Yeah, it's not quite what they're hoping for.
Well, that was a good weekend. This coming weekend, I don't know.
Is trash.
The SEC is concerned. I don't know when it started. Where like a lot of these SEC teams, have started scheduling a cupcake right before like rivalry weekend.
Honestly, it's not just the SEC. It's practically every conference. Like there's the big games aren't really scheduled in. There's a few Pac-12 games. There may be like a Big Ten game here or there, and there may be a couple of ACC games, but it's really like it's all like this. I don't know. People are scheduling their non-major conference games, or they're not even scheduling in conference. Alabama's playing Chattanooga, Michigan's playing at Maryland. Louisville, Miami is kind of an interesting one, but I don't know. I'm calling this shot right now.
Rutgers, the Great Schianos.
I got the Great Schianos beating Penn State in Happy Valley. I got it happening, man.
Gus Johnson calling the funeral of Penn State on the FS1 here on Fox Sports.
I think I just saw something that now I'm going to flip the cursor over it. You see this right here? Drew Aller has 1 pick on the year. I have never seen a dude play so bad at quarterback.
You know why? Because nobody catches what he can throw. Like he throws such poor passes that it's not even.
So that's what I was going to say. It's like when I saw that, I was like, aha, I got it. I know why. It's because he's not. It's a combination of. He only throws to guys who are wide open, and that's why he gets sacked so much, and why he, or he throws the ball in the dirt or throws it over their head out of bounds. He's so inaccurate that all he can do
the DBs can't get
it. So there's a kid. I shouldn't say it. There's a kid who I've seen play basketball. He's he plays with one of my kids. All right. Anyway,
you can throw him on the bus. I don't care.
But it's so crazy. Like it's either rip the net or it's like the side of the backboard.
Yeah.
And no in between. Like I've not seen this kid rim one out. I've not seen him barely graze the back iron and and it bounces out or anything like that. No, it's just like I'm talking rip the net like dead center,
Yeah.
or it's not hitting
It's
anything.
going over the backboard.
That's Drew Aller. Like it's just like so the picks aren't there because he's not going to throw it into a tight window because
their
it's
windows
like
are not
you
even
got to be
there.
wide open where he can underthrow you and you'll still be able to catch the ball. So that one I got Rutgers winning that one. Utah and Arizona. It's so crazy that Arizona has climbed the ranks this much.
They have.
I just it's wild. Like they're up there, you know. Now this one, Georgia, Tennessee.
Hey,
going to Neyland Stadium.
Oh yeah.
A little revenge factor. I think you're going to get their best shot by far.
We are of this season. I think so
Yeah.
because like they, obviously we have the East locked up, but I know nothing would make them happier than ruining our, because like you look at the college football playoff landscape. Like if we take a loss now, we might be screwed. So like it's they're like we might not be able to really do much except make a good bowl, but at least we can ruin Georgia's season, and Tennessee loves to do that.
All right, let's do that then. Speaking of which, since we're here, let's go. All right, so Georgia, 1 loss, lose to Tennessee, win its conference title game. Still 98% chance to make the
crazy now?
playoff.
Flip it, because I did this. Flip it, because watch if we went out and lose to Bama. Look what happens.
That's exactly what I was going to do. That's why I brought it up because I wanted to do exactly that scenario.
Watch what happens. I've already done it. Right, watch what happens.
Let's go. Where's the all right, 98%. Pick another scenario. Here we go.
Watch this.
Georgia
make this make sense. Watch.
Wins conference title game. No.
Watch.
63%.
Okay, it was 24 at one point.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it said 24 at one point to make the playoff.
All right, let's see what Alabama's thing is. All right, so let's say they get 1 loss and it's to Auburn. And they win the conference title game. 4% to make it. Yeah. Well, they'd have 2 losses. They'd have 2 losses. Yeah. So it's pretty much.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing is like there's a chance for a lot of undefeated conference champions coming down the stretch here, or it's like if Oregon makes noise and beats. Like, there's a lot of scenarios where like people could get left out.
Yo, look at this. According to this,
win out and win the championship.
If they win out and win the title, they're still only a 66%. So what they're saying is it's you guys or it's nobody, most likely.
Really?
Or not most likely, but somewhat likely.
Yeah.
So they're saying like Florida State's in.
Dude, could you imagine a world where no SEC teams in the playoff?
Yeah, like so Florida State's in according to what they're seeing. And I can't disagree because Florida State has, when we looked at it after they beat us in week 1, we looked at the schedule and we're like, they might not lose another game. They might not lose this year because and it's not because they're that good. It's because the ACC is not good this year. It's a weak conference this year. Yeah, and but North Carolina is North Carolina really even good?
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know, man. Who's it? Appalachian State that they almost lost to?
Yes,
early in the year. So I'm just so anyway. So they're saying
JMU State.
Yeah, so they're saying Florida State is in. Ohio State, Michigan winner is in, and possibly the loser, right? Because let's go to that. Let's try that one out.
It's Ohio State. I mean, like we have to. We're assuming, which I think is realistic. Whoever wins Ohio State, Michigan is also going to win the Big Ten championship.
Right. So 1 loss, and it's to Michigan, and they win the conference title game. Well, they wouldn't win the conference title game, right?
Because it'd be Michigan would be in it, right? This is dumb because I don't think they realize that like Ohio State, Michigan decides who's going to be in the Big Ten.
Well, what happened here? Ah, shit. Okay, hang on. Do I get to pick? No, I have to start over again. That I hate that about this thing. Like, bro, okay, Michigan. Oh, didn't make it. Okay, 45%.
That's crazy that they still have that much of a chance to do it.
Yeah. If they lose to Michigan and don't play in the championship game, then they're good. All right, so here's the other part. So what was the thing where they have 1 loss and it's to Minnesota, but they win the conference title game because they would get there because they beat Michigan. They would have the head-to-head.
Yeah,
so they would automatically get there. They're 98% to get in. Like,
they have a better chance of us, even if we, better chance.
All right, so Michigan 1 loss and it's to Ohio State, and they didn't make the title game, 23%.
Wow. So it's saying they're out if they lose to Ohio State.
All right. So then if it's one loss and it's to Maryland,
Oh my God.
and they win
Maryland's
the conference
in
title
the East,
game, they're a 90% chance of making it. So what they're saying is like, yeah, one of these two is in, and there's an outside chance that both of them are in.
Yeah. And Florida State,
if you guys
take care of
win, you're
business.
in. If you guys lose to Alabama, you
We might
still
be
have a
out.
chance, but you might be out.
And
What was the number again?
It was like a 60% chance, I think.
Oh, if you win, wait,
win out.
I gotta start over again.
This program
This is
sucks.
so stupid, bro. Bro, come on, no. Who cares? All right.
Oh God, I hope we don't lose to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I've just clicked stuff. It's not. This is just for entertainment purposes. All right, so win the conference title game. No. 63%. Yeah, so like you have. Here's the crazy part. If you guys win the conference championship, you have a slightly worse chance of getting in than Alabama does of getting in by beating you.
They're
66%. They're 66% to make it. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude.
All right, so then let's go to Oregon. If Oregon wins out
and wins the conference championship
and wins the conference title game, 91%. But
if
they win out and don't play in the conference title game, well, wait, they have to, right?
I believe
top two.
Yeah,
it's top two. So if they win out, they have to play in it. So they would have to win it for there to be two Pac-12 teams in. All right, so they're 91% chance to get in. Washington, one loss, and it's to I did it again. Washington State. Let's just say it's that.
It's because Pac-12 doesn't have divisions, just the top two teams. You said.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So let me do this. Hang on. All right. So
wins out.
Washington wins out and loses the conference title game. 4%.
Wow, they're done.
Like they beat Oregon, and if they lose to Oregon in the rematch,
it's done.
And Oregon's not even necessarily in.
Yeah.
Like, what's the thing? What is this? If they went out and win the conference championship game,
91%. They're pretty much saying they're
pretty much in.
Yeah.
All right. So
they're trying to get a Pac-12 team in the swan song of the conference. Like
it's Texas. I think the only scenario that matters is Texas has to win out and win the whole thing. Yeah. So it's going to be crazy. So like, here's what they're saying. Let me go back to the top.
The Big 12 guys are in. The Big 10 guys are in. The Big 10 guys are in.
What they're saying is Big 10, Florida State and the Big 10 champ is a lock.
Yeah.
And everything else is pretty much up for grabs. And anybody from Georgia, Oregon, Alabama, Texas, or Washington pretty much has an equal chance with one loss of getting in. Every one of those teams with one loss, if it's the right loss, has a 60 to 65% chance of getting in.
That's so crazy, dude. That's whatever. So what a weekend we have coming up.
Yeah, so let's go back to the scoreboard here.
On Tennessee and Neyland. I think we take care of business. We get. I think so too. We'll be all right.
Yeah, I think so too. Moving along, Minnesota didn't have a shot against Ohio State. Oregon at Arizona State. This Arizona State defense almost beat Michael Penix and Washington in Seattle. So it's possible. Playing there, this is like, again, just like what we're talking about with Tennessee. You're going to get their best shot, Ducks. So get ready for it. And Bo Nix, this is a chance for Bo Nix to either like put himself in better contention, because right now he's the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman, but he's like at minus 110. And you've got Penix and Daniels nipping at his heels in like the plus 350 to plus 400 range. So these last couple of weeks are really going to decide it. Oklahoma State at Houston. Who knows? Upset. It's Oklahoma State. They could lose by 40 or they could win by 40. Who knows? It's just Jekyll and Hyde there. North Alabama.
Kansas State. I don't think Kansas bounces back after Texas Tech last week.
I think so too. It's just like, gosh, a top 25 matchup of two teams that are like pretty solid. I don't care. Like I have no interest in this game whatsoever.
Oregon State and Washington might be one of the best games of the weekend if we're looking at it. Like just other than us in Tennessee.
And this one's in
one of the best games of the
Corvallis.
weekends.
Yeah, this one's in Corvallis, and to your point, you got DJ Uongale. I can't pronounce his name.
The old
Anyway,
Clemson quarterback.
the old Clemson quarterback, quarterbacking
the Beavers.
the Beavers here, and I don't know, man. Like I've never seen anything like this where you have a team that's in contention for the national championship and they're undefeated, and they're playing a team with 2 losses, and the 2-loss team is favored. Like, what's going on here? Like, there's no respect here. I think this is the place where either Michael Penix puts himself back in the front runner spot for the Heisman, or he falls out of it
entirely.
Yeah, I think he's either like he either pulls neck and neck with Bo Nix, or possibly like Bo Nix falls off if he has a bad game against Arizona
if both
State.
can have bad games.
And Jayden Daniels is going to light up Georgia State. So the question just becomes like, is Georgia State going to be one of those games where they're just like, well, yeah, but it's Georgia State, so we're not even going to count. You know what I mean? Like,
or how going to play the whole game?
How insane does he have to play against Georgia State in basically 3/4 of a game? Because I doubt they're going to play in the whole game.
No.
He only played a half against Army, and he hung like 300-something yards and 3 touchdowns or something like that on him in a half. You know, it's like
they got to start having him kick the football. That's what they got. Like what they did it with they did that with Johnny Manziel. They had him kick an extra point to for the Heisman or something.
Are you serious? I didn't remember
that. Was it Johnny Manziel? It was It was a Heisman quarterback. They tried to kick an extra point.
Okay.
Anyway, they got to have. Or maybe I'm imagining that entirely, but
so what would be cool is I could see them running like an end around and Daniels flare out into the flat and catch a touchdown pass to awesome. Basically, to cement his
really special his
legacy as like one of the best all around quarterbacks to ever play the game.
Dude.
But yeah, Washington at Oregon State is a big one that I'm going to be watching. And then it's a little lesser matchups, but still worth keeping an eye on. Missouri hosts Florida.
They might dog Florida.
I think, they're only favored by 11, but they're playing at home. And I really think the way that I saw them play last week, they are still playing for something.
They are.
And it was crazy. Did you see? So do you remember last year when Tennessee like called a timeout to stop the clock to try to hang more points on them?
I don't know if I remember that. No.
Yeah, they were blowing them out, and they called a timeout and then ran another play to score a touchdown. So they're getting blown out last week, and Tennessee's lining up for a field goal to like cut it to 32 or something. It's like 42-7, and they're trying to kick a field goal. Or maybe it was 42-10, and they're trying to kick a field goal to make it look a little bit more respectable, something like that. And Drinkwitz calls a timeout to ice the kicker, and he misses it. And it was just, bro, like the Missouri fans were going crazy. They were so happy. Like it was.
No, Mizzou's I give Mizzou. They've had a good season. Like no matter how it's like, they obviously they can't make it to Atlanta and whatnot, but this is a season for the books for them, no doubt.
Yeah,
since the Chase Daniels days.
Not for nothing, but they have a chance to have a 3,000-yard passer, a 1,000-yard receiver, and a 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah,
and they could have a guy. I mean, now Brady Cook is only probably going to throw for 20 touchdowns on the season. Mm-hmm. He's only got 17 so far, but Luther Burden has 8 touchdowns, and Cody Schrader has 11 touchdowns already. So you could have like 20, 10, and 10, 3,000, 1,000, and 1,000.
That's a great season.
And no BS. Like Schrader could rush for 1,500 easy.
Yeah.
And Burden is right there. Burden has 984, so he's right on the cusp of 1,000-yard season. So it doesn't take much for him. Schrader, they could just feed him the ball the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he could easily. He's at 1124.
Yeah.
He needs 376.
Easy.
So he's definitely capable of doing that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so this is a great game for them to get some of that done. Florida showed last week their defense is Not capable. Nobody's really been capable of stopping LSU's offense, but it was we hung 52 on them. So I could definitely see Missouri putting up 3, 4, 5 touchdowns. And they've got a good kicker too, so they can hang some numbers. Texas, Iowa State. That's one where it's a stumbling block potentially. Texas only favored by 7.5 on the road, and Ames is a tough place to play, and they've got a good defense. So this is probably going to be a low scoring game in the 20s, and I could see Iowa State possibly if a couple of turnovers go their way. Quinn Ewers doesn't have his best game. It could happen, but I think Texas is still playing for enough that I think they get it done. But it's that same scenario where you've got a contender going on the road, playing against a team that they have nothing to lose, and nothing would make them happier than to ruin your season.
True.
So Giant Slayer. This is Giant Slayer weekend. The way I look at it.
Dude, so, yeah, I think a lot of things could happen. I think it's gonna, it's not the best weekend for the SEC, but there's still some matchups to look at in college football. But listen, next weekend, rivalry weekend, baby. We'll be ready.
Oh, Burrow is out for the rest of the season.
I know. I didn't want to bring it up. I saw it on my phone, but I didn't want to bring it up. Yeah, Joe Burrow is out for the season. There's so many injuries this year, dude, in the NFL.
That's so tough. Crazy. That's not good. Well, R.I.P. the Bengals championship window.
AG called at the beginning of the season. He said Ravens Eagles Super Bowl beginning of the season. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, I got a Ravens futures bet for the Super Bowl. So
all right,
I'm not mad at it.
Anyway.
So yeah, but that's pretty much a wrap for what I had to cover as far as like what's coming up and what we wanted to cover from last week. But yeah. Jayden Daniels, go out there, get it done. I don't know, is 406 touchdowns and then like a couple of rushing touchdowns and 100 yards. Yeah. No, but I mean, I really think like the campaign is on. I think they're going to do everything they can to get him all the numbers they can get him.
Yeah, because he deserves it. He needs to be in New York regardless, but he deserves the Heisman for sure.
But yeah, and then next week they kind of gave like a big FU to him and to the whole LSU fan scene where I get it. We lost to Florida State to open the season. We had that ugly loss to Ole Miss where we were up by 10 late and choked it away and just our defense couldn't stop them. And we had one possession where we couldn't score. Well, two. The last two possessions. So one, did we not go for it or did we go for it and didn't get it? I don't remember. But anyway, we failed to score the second to last possession. That let them go down and take the lead. And then we go down with a chance to win it. And we have a pass that's on the receiver's hands in the end zone that wins the game. And we just don't catch it. So I get it. That happened. And then we go to Alabama and get beat by 2 touchdowns. So I get it. But to put the LSU Texas A&M game at 11 a.m.
That's crazy.
Is just I got people driving in from Texas to come to this game. And they're like, when we found out, they're just like, I guess we're going to drive up the day of the game. Like, we're just going to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning. Because they're not happy. Nobody's happy.
Yeah, that's a 3:30 game at least.
The only thing that makes it to where it's like, okay, I think that this might be a little bit different because Daniels and those receivers are just going to come out balling.
True.
And it's just going to be one of those, like, is he going to be able to hang enough numbers up
without Jimbo? By the way, we totally
no Jimbo, and I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know how that plays. I almost feel like it would be better. It would have been better. No, but it would have been better if for LSU, for us to to win that game and to feel comfortable about it as a fan. I would have felt better if Jimbo was still there and he was like this lame duck. Well, I don't know. No, you know what? I take that back. I think that actually that might have been worse. Because LSU did that. They thought they were talking about threatening to fire Les Miles.
Yeah.
And the players balled out for him.
True.
So I think the fact that they fired him.
We were talking about mutiny last year. Remember that? Yeah. We were talking about mutiny. So that whole situation is so weird. We don't even know what they think over there.
It's just wild. It's crazy. Yeah. And they're not in the top 25 anymore, so I can't look them up on the old college football scoreboard. But yeah, that's That's it. That's all I got.
All I got.
I'm just hoping to
Screw
enjoy a game.
Tennessee,
I'm going to
baby.
that game on next Saturday. I'm not going to the Georgia State game tomorrow, but I'm going to the A&M game.
That's gonna be a
So,
great game, man.
yeah, we
Yeah,
should
we,
enjoy it.
we play Tennessee tomorrow. We gotta take care of business. Then
Let's
it's
go.
we're heading down to Atlanta 2 weeks in a row, baby, because we
There you
gotta.
go. There you go, man. That's right. That's the way to think about it. Yeah, indeed. All right, man. Well, I am Chad. He is Tyler. It's the South End Zone. Like, share, subscribe, share it with all your friends, all your college football fan friends. Let's go. Enjoy week 12. Peace. We're out of here.
We out.